So welcome to the Holistic Vets for Transformation Conference. I'm Dr. Jeff Grognet, and with me is Dr. Meghan Barrett. Now, this is the part 2. If you haven't seen part 1 and haven't listened to it, please go back to part 1 of Meghan's talk because she talks about the introduction to sound therapy and things like that, and how sound impacts us and our pets and what you should be doing about it in your home. Here, we're going to be going a little bit deeper into working with sound and pets and how it can help them out. And so go back to part 1 if you haven't watched that, please. But just as a brief reintroduction of Dr. Meghan Barrett, she's a visionary integrated veterinarian, and her place is called Muse Holistic Veterinary Care. And the reason for that is her Hawaiian practice transcends the conventional boundaries, and she's looking at the intimate connections between mind, body, and spirit in her patients. She has a book out called From Basic to Boogie, a blueprint to upgrade your pet's diet safely and simply. And she also integrates the transformative power of sound therapy into her practice. And she's a musician. Her repertoire spans the harp, the flute, and also sound bowls, violin, and guitar. And she orchestrates healing symphonies that resonate deeply with her animal patients. And also, she has a background in electronic music production, so she's able to sort of twist the productions in creating some very interesting transformative experiences for animals and their caregivers. So welcome again, Meghan.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, so in this one, we're going to be going into utilizing sound therapy for the pet's well-being. And so what got you started on this whole journey of sound therapy for pets?
So I'm an acupuncturist, and I like to play calming music for my patients during the sessions. And that's where it started, where I noticed playing the music versus without it really did make a big difference, not only just in calming everybody down, but I think it does help to mask some external noises that are quite inevitable in our modern world. So I also started playing the harp a few years ago, and I noticed that my animals would just go right to sleep when I would play. And just getting curious about that. And, at first I was like, oh, it's so cute. They just go right to sleep. And then I started realizing that how powerful it was. I did an interview with Susan Wagner for my cat health podcast. And, she's kind of the original expert in my mind on a lot of the sound therapy stuff because she's a neurologist, and she helped to pioneer some of the research that we have now on how sound and music affects pets. And so she encouraged me to utilize my harp in, my practice so that we can be using that lovely instrument as a tool for us to improve the well-being of both the pets and the owners together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the harp is very different from a lot of other instruments in how the sound can, I'll call it, vibrate into you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's just something about it that has this angelic quality, which I think that's always been the way it is ever since the bards back in Ireland were playing it for the royalty,
Yeah, no, it is really that way. So is the sound therapy you're talking about then, is it a lot different from the other practices that are used in veterinary medicine?
I think it is. I mean, it's another therapeutic tool that we can use both for our animals and for ourselves to promote the family's well-being. When you think about music, it is different than other modalities because it's a vibration. It influences the energy fields of everything around us, including plants, animals, people, everything that exists actually in the physical world is vibrating molecules. So sound is kind of the baseline for everything that in existence, and It's pretty quantum when you start going deep into it. And so, you know, zooming back out to where we're utilizing it. So the types of calming music that we like to use does a process called entrainment, where the rhythms of the music will influence the heart rate and the breathing rate, the brain waves. And it's, if you can imagine, like if you're listening to a music with a beat and you start nodding your head along with it, that's an example of entrainment, where the body starts to respond to the music that it's experiencing. And so similarly with calming music, if it's slow and calming and kind of going from moderate pace to slow, and there's no jarring noises, it does calm your nervous system down. And so, you know, these physiologic effects, the energetic effects that it has, you might notice that as you're listening to this, you might take a deep breath, you know, your dog yawns and stretches out. And so that's all evidence of a kind of a clearing of the energy field that you guys are in.
Yeah, there's have you got some examples of that in terms of what specific sounds can change their well-being, their health?
Yeah, so there are some fun examples from research that was done. They found in historic research that dogs, you know, relax more with classical music. Chickens would actually eat more when classical music was played and have an improved growth rate. So down to that, you know, that physiologic level where your body is more productive when it's in a calmer state. They found that cows would produce more milk when listening to classical music. And they found that horses and cows actually liked country music, which is pretty fun. I don't know exactly how they did the research, but it kind of makes sense. And, you know, just the whole thing is very interesting and fun. So I think it's an invitation for all of us to start to explore it more in our own personal lives with our pets. So maybe you find I've had a patient who said they swore the dog loved jazz music. And maybe not every dog would be that way, but they said that was his favorite. And you know, other dogs, they seem to just have their personal preference, just like we do. So, you know, classical music is universally appreciated, I think, but your dog or cat might have a genre that they seem to enjoy. So just have fun with it and start paying attention. That's the main take-home message, I think.
Well, I've got two examples for you, which gives the idea both ways here. When I play piano, and this cat's gone now, but one of our cats used to come and sit beside me. And he just watched and listened. And it's like, hey, bud, you ready? Yep. Okay. And I play piano and he's there. You know, it's like, I don't know why, you know, and I don't know what attracted him, but obviously he liked the piano, right? I didn't teach him how to play the piano. I tried a few times and he did walk on the keys, but it never really got going anywhere. But the other side is I found out that all the animals that I've ever had do not like me playing the trombone. So you can,
very loud instrument.
it's a very loud and scary instrument, and my wife doesn't like it either. So it's fine. I don't blame them at all. You know, so
I wonder how a cow would feel about it though.
oh, there's a video I saw where a guy was playing trombone and all the cows out in the field came running to him.
Yeah, so
he
he's
played
different.
for them. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen videos of like a little chamber music group on a platform, and they were playing for whales and dolphins that were swimming around them.
Mm.
So all of the animals, you know, the species are different. Each individual is different. So what might work for one of your cats might not work for the other. So
Yeah.
So
is there any specific things we can use music for in terms of like behavior or ailments?
definitely. So there are lots of applications of this. And so I'll go through a list and then we can dive into how to use the music for each one.
Okay.
The list includes fireworks, thunderstorms, separation anxiety, car rides. That can be a big one for some pets. If your dog doesn't like visitors and managing when you have to have people come over, if they're having aggression issues. And then if you're having a stressful time in the family, like someone's losing a job or there's a big medical issue happening with a human family member, everyone's stressed out, you can use music to help with that. If your pet is recovering from a surgery and they're laying around, in pain, that might be a time that you could put that to use. And then also I've had some owners who put the music on in the car on the way to the vet. They come into the office with it playing on their phone, and then they go home with it playing. It's just playing the whole time. And I think it could make a difference if the dog has been conditioned previously to associate that music with the calm state of mind.
Okay.
And another way that I really love to use it too is when it's time to say goodbye to our pets, having those euthanasias that are done either at home or at a vet's office, having some quiet music playing can really make it a profound, spiritual experience in a way that it may not have been if it was just a quiet, silent, type of experience.
Yeah, that's when we want to get rid of all the extraneous scary noises. And like I say, and ground people in what's going on, and not having music will be this distracting, something that just is there just to help them, and as I call it, stay with the pet.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, very, very important. Yeah, certainly we've got all this. A lot of that is behavior issues that you're talking about. Okay. And when you're talking about, here's a good one, separation anxiety. We're not going to find a piece of music that's going to solve separation anxiety just all by itself. Okay. But what can help?
So I think that if you're going to try to use music, you always want to introduce it first when your dog is at their calmest, when they're relaxed, asleep, everyone's home and together. And we start to build an association between the calm state of being and the music. Because if you wait until you're walking out the door or there's a thunderstorm happening right now and you put that music on, you could actually unintentionally create the opposite problem where now they think the calming music is part of the scary stuff, and they can have a generalization occur where they don't realize that you're trying to help them. It's more stress.
Yeah.
So it's good to make sure to introduce it when things are at their best, so that when you are leaving, you can put the music on for 20 minutes before you have to walk out. And hopefully it will help so that your dog stays more calm. But yeah, just like you said, dealing with the problem like separation anxiety will have to be usually a multimodal approach where we might use some, aromatherapy, maybe some behavioral training, music, things like that. It's never going to be solved just by one thing, unfortunately, because it's a complex problem for most dogs.
Yeah. So the key with that is making sure the dog, and it works in people too, is familiar with the music in the right setting, and I just know from, I call it meditation tapes. The first time you listen to a meditation tape, you don't get very far. The 10th time, you finally get it, and then the 50th time, hit the button. I'm ready. It just gets you going, right? But the point is, we're acclimatized to it at that point. And so I like what you're saying with the, I say, I think a thunderstorm's happening. Crank up the music. No.
Yeah.
Unless you're just trying to drown it out.
Yeah, exactly. You can use it more as a masking. So if you, some people do, they'll put on the TV or radio for those. And if it does drown out the thunder, it's the lesser of two evils, then sure, just be mindful of what you're doing so that you have some type of goal in mind when you're experimenting.
Yeah. Are there any specific sounds or something? I'm thinking about dog, how a dog hearing is so different from ours. Are there any that shouldn't be used or should be used?
I think that we discussed this a little bit in the first part, but dogs don't seem to like, a lot of drumming, cymbals crashing, like some people like the gong meditations, but I haven't found dogs to love gongs because it kind of sounds like thunder. It can be a little bit disruptive.
Okay.
So what seems to be the most effective, based on the research that has been done, is simple melodic type of music with either one or a few instruments that is playing at a BPM that they found at about 60, which is kind of like the, in the range where a heartbeat could be, like a very calm heartbeat.
Mhm.
And so thinking of it like that, where we want it to be almost like lullaby music, where it's capable of calming you down from a heightened state of your nervous system.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, this is going to be the fun part. I'm going to ask you, can you tell me some stories on how sound has impacted animals' lives?
Well, I see it firsthand all the time with pets when we do healing sessions. So it's really just having, I mean, half the battle is having a quiet space, right? If you can go from a noisy environment to a quiet environment, you're already, doing great. The pet's going to be a lot calmer. And then if you can add in some calming music, then everyone just starts to breathe deeper, relax, kind of forget about your schedule and to-do lists and just more be in that moment where the healing is happening. So
Okay.
yeah, there's many stories. I mean, I think my favorites are just with my own pets, honestly, because I love to bring my harp out to where my horse lives and play harp for him and flute, and he just stands next to me and goes to sleep. It's really cool. Sometimes we'll put some acupuncture needles in and play the music for him. His herd mates will come up to the fence and I'll be looking and trying to figure out what's going on. So it's really cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, so if they're doing that, as in they're coming up and saying hi while you're doing it, it's like, okay, I've got endorsement that this is working here.
Yeah, I mean, some animals will have a more neutral reaction where they just don't notice, but I think it's pretty clear if they walk away when you're doing it, then
Yeah.
they may not like it. So, you know,
Mhm.
it's not that complicated. It's the whole thing is to just pay attention. And I think that's hard because we're so busy and our pets are just we take them for granted and they're here in our lives and they're part of our busy routine. But when we can circle back to the fact that, you know, nowadays pets, a lot of people, they say, people treat pets like they're family members these days.
Mhm.
And more and more the way that they're, like a lot of people don't even have kids, they just have their pets. But I think that it's really a level deeper where our animals are also, spiritual beings who are here with us as teachers and guides. And when we really give them the respect and admiration that they deserve, it's easier to pay attention to what their needs are and to understand what their needs are in terms of having some peace and quiet. A lot of pets developed separation anxiety during the pandemic because people were home more or, the whole routine of life changed.
Mhm.
And so I think that for some of that, the pets didn't have enough alone time where, the family's home all the time making noise, doing all their stuff. Pets also need time to just relax and um, have some me time for themselves. So
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's like remember to see your pet as the magical being that they are, and think about what their ideal home environment would be like. You know, do they want to listen to the radio, the TV when you're gone? Maybe it helps them, but maybe it doesn't. So maybe you could experiment with finding something that they seem to enjoy to entertain them, because it's not like they can read a book all day when you're gone, you know?
That's true. Yeah. I mean, you're a pioneer in this, especially being a veterinarian and your music ability. You've really put the two things together, and you're implementing it into a holistic practice. Do you see more of that happening in the future?
I do. There is a huge demand for holistic care. And the beauty of holistic medicine is that we can use these, you know, lesser utilized and lesser understood modalities like music. And we don't have to have all the research in the world to use anecdotal evidence and our own personal experience and experimentation with it. Because if it seems to work, then that's good enough for most situations.
Yeah. Okay. Those are good words. Do it and then to see what happens. And if it looks like it's helping out, continue. You know,
Absolutely.
and so yeah, that's why people like music. You know, that is it depends on how their brain is wired as to what type of music they want to listen to, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
the stuff I have is fairly boring, according to most people, you know, which is fine, but that's what works for me, right? And meanwhile, my brother-in-law, God, he's into this metal stuff, and it just doesn't turn cranks for me. But anyway, the point is, I guess dogs and cats are going to have their own preferences on what they want to listen to too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any final words on this, Megan?
I think that I just encourage people to give it a try and see how it goes. Definitely check out the free gift that we are sharing, which is a recording that I made of myself playing sound bowls and harp, along with a friend of mine who plays the keyboard. And we use some digital synthesizers to try to make a soundscape that's calming. And it's actually fun because it has 7 different sections to it. The chord progression changes every 5 minutes or so. And each chord is associated with a different chakra center.
I was wondering when you said, yeah, seven of them. Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, as you listen to it, you can visualize, you know, each color as you go through. So that first
Okay.
it's red and it goes through the rainbow. And I think that, you know, color therapy is another kind of lesser used and more new agey type of modality, but there's a reason that all of these ancient traditions like Ayurveda, you know, they use the chakra system as one of their main tools of like balancing your energy fields. And so there's a reason that we see light in a color spectrum, and those colors are in order, you know, and it goes along with an energy frequency, because the reds have a lower frequency and wavelength than the purple, which is a higher, more energetic type of frequency.
That's right.
So yeah, I like to listen to it just eyes closed, and you know, when you hear the music change, then kind of go on to the next color and just imagine.
Okay.
And use that as a visualization. And you know, you can imagine your pet and, you know, that color and kind of swirling around them, and the type of healing energy that it could give to them. So there's lots of fun branches off of the music in terms of visualization, meditation, and other types of more vibrational therapy. But I think just listening to the music and taking a little time to be at peace with your pet is a nice thing to do.
Yeah, and I love the way you just explained all that, because a lot of people would just turn on the music and say, yeah, it sounds good. You know, but there's a lot of intention in that music and what it's doing,
Yeah,
which is
definitely.
wonderful to see. So thank you very much for sharing all that. And and thank you for coming on board and telling us all about sound and pets. It's been great. So thank you everyone for watching. And we've got lots more webinars for you. So make sure you keep going and learning. And if you want to get hold of Meghan, I do have her contact information below as well. So that way you can explore her world at the same time. Okay, we'll see you in the next one.